In a remote village nestled deep within an ancient forest, there stood a tree unlike any other. It was old, gnarled, and twisted, but what made it truly terrifying were the human arms that grew from its trunk. These arms, pale and cold, reached out in every direction, as if trying to grasp at anything that dared to come near. The villagers whispered tales of how the tree was cursed, how those who ventured too close would never return. Some said the arms belonged to lost souls, trapped within the tree, forever reaching out for salvation. Others believed the tree fed on the souls of the living, absorbing their essence through those ghastly limbs. One stormy night, a young man named Thomas, fueled by curiosity and disbelief, decided to uncover the truth. Armed with nothing but a lantern and a knife, he ventured into the forest, determined to confront the cursed tree. As he approached, the wind howled through the branches, and the arms seemed to twitch, as if sensing his presence. Thomas felt a cold shiver run down his spine, but he pressed on, ignoring the voices in his head that told him to turn back. When he finally reached the tree, he raised his knife, ready to cut off one of the arms as proof of his bravery. But before he could strike, the arms moved. They wrapped around him with a speed and strength that defied nature. His screams echoed through the forest as the tree pulled him closer, its bark splitting open to reveal a gaping maw. The next morning, the villagers found his lantern near the tree, still burning. But of Thomas, there was no sign. The tree stood as it always had, its branches swaying in the wind, and now there was one more arm reaching out from its twisted trunk. The villagers, horrified by Thomas' disappearance, avoided the forest altogether. Yet, rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed to hear faint whispers in the wind, calling out Thomas' name. Others swore they saw the tree's arms twitch and point towards the village, as if beckoning for more victims. As fear gripped the town, an elder named Margaret, who had lived in the village for over 80 years, finally spoke of the tree's origins. She told a tale of a vengeful spirit, a witch who had been betrayed by the villagers centuries ago. Before she was burned at the stake, she cursed the land, promising that her soul would never rest until she had claimed the lives of those who wronged her and their descendants. The tree, Margaret said, was where the witch's spirit had rooted itself. The human arms were her way of reaching beyond death, to claim the lives of the living. The villagers listened in stunned silence, realizing that their ancestors' sins had come back to haunt them. Despite the warnings, a few brave souls couldn't shake their curiosity. Among them was Elizabeth, Thomas' younger sister. Distraught and desperate for answers, she refused to believe her brother was gone for good. Armed with her grandmother's protective talismans and a deep sense of determination, Elizabeth ventured into the forest one cold, moonless night. As she neared the cursed tree, the air grew thick, heavy with an unnatural presence. The arms on the tree swayed gently, almost inviting her closer. But unlike her brother, Elizabeth didn't let fear cloud her judgment. She clutched her talismans tightly, murmuring prayers her grandmother had taught her. When she stood before the tree, she saw the newest arm, slightly smaller than the others, fingers curled in an eerie stillness. It was unmistakably Thomas' arm. Her heart pounded, but she did not scream. Instead, she took a deep breath and stepped closer, determined to break the curse. Elizabeth placed the talismans around the tree and began to chant the ancient incantations. The wind picked up, and the arms on the tree writhed violently, as if in agony. The ground trembled, and the sky darkened with swirling clouds. But Elizabeth did not stop. Her voice grew louder, more confident, as she called upon the spirits to free her brother and end the witch's curse. Suddenly, the tree let out a horrific, inhuman wail. The arms flailed wildly before beginning to wither and decay. One by one, they crumbled to dust, releasing the souls trapped within. The gnarled bark split open, and a blinding light burst forth, momentarily engulfing Elizabeth. When the light faded, the tree stood silent and still. The human arms were gone, and in their place were normal, gnarled branches. At the base of the tree, Elizabeth found her brother, unconscious but alive. She rushed to his side, tears of relief streaming down her face. Together, they left the cursed forest behind. The villagers, upon hearing what had happened, rejoiced, but they also vowed to never forget the dark history that had haunted their village for so long. From that day on, the tree stood as a reminder of the price of betrayal, but it no longer reached out with sinister intent. The forest, once a place of fear, became quiet and peaceful again. And as for Elizabeth and Thomas, they never spoke of the horrors they faced at night, but they knew they had broken a curse that had lingered far too long.